Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is 6th day of 30 days of JavaScript, and today we are looking into the topic basic array transformation. And the problem that we have today is filter elements from array. Okay, so the question is pretty straightforward, filter elements from array. And in this particular question, let's read it out. So given an integer array ARR and a filtering function fn, return a filtered array, which can be whatever you want, filtered ARR. The function fn takes one or two argument, which is the array element and the index. Okay, now we have to return an array. Okay, so filtered ARR, and this filtered ARR should only contain the element from ARR for which the expression fn, and we are passing our array elements and I, which is the index, evaluates to be a true value. Okay, so what we have to do is we have an array with some elements. Okay, and we have to create a filtered array in which what we are going to do is we will pass all the elements of our original array in such a way that these elements when passed to the fn function always returns a true value. So it's pretty simple. And then true value. So what exactly is a true value? A true value is a value where boolean of the value always returns true. So most of you already know it. And it has been mentioned explicitly that we solve it without array.filter method. Okay, so we are going to do it manually. So let me give you a overview of this particular problem. So basically what we have is we have our array. Okay, and this will have some sort of elements, right? And we are going to pass this particular array elements into this function fn, which is also known as filtered function, right? And here we have array of I comma I. And if this evaluates to be a true value, then I will keep this particular element inside of our filtered array, And if this turns out to be a falsy value, then I have to ignore it. And at the end, this will be my final answer. So we have to return this particular thing. Okay. So let's start doing it. So, and here one of the concept that we are going to use is a callback function. So callback function, so fn is a callback, meaning it is passed into another function. It gets called during the loop. So we are going to create some for loop or something like that. And you are going to rely on its value, return value to make decision. Okay. So if you see the problem, we already have this function over here created in the boilerplate code, right? And now inside of this function, which is a var filter, we are going to use this fn function. Okay, so see, first of all, this is the boilerplate code that we already have. Then I'm going to create a new array, let fill. So this is this particular array where I'm going to keep all my filtered array, and at the end of the code I will simply return it. Then I will simply use a for loop to iterate all the elements from 0 to array.length, and I will check, because that's the condition. If the element and the index passed to this function turns out to be true value, then only I'm going to add it in my filtered array, right? So I'll simply check if fn of arr of I and I means, so this particular logic over here will only push. So dot push is a function that we use to put elements into array. So fill dot push array of I, only true when this particular condition is true, right? So that's why I told it gets called during the loop, and we are going to rely on its return value to make decisions. So if the return value is false, I'm not going to add it anywhere. If the return value is true, then only I'm going to push it into the filtered array. Okay. Now, something related to truthy and falsy. Okay, that we will discuss. Now, for the solution part, let's just start coding. So what I'll do is, so first of all, I have to create a filtered array. So let's fill, and then this will be an empty array at the beginning, and then I'll be using my for loop, and this will be let. Okay, so for let I is equals to 0, and I have to go till array arr.length, and then I have to simply increment it, right? And then I have to check my condition. So here I'm going to use my callback function, and inside of that I will simply pass array of I and I. And if this turns out to be true, what I will do, fill dot push, and I will push array of I, because we need the element inside of the new array. Why we are not doing fill dot push normal I? Because this normal I is nothing but the index values, right? We want the element, not the index. Okay, so this loop is completed, and once this loop will be completed, I will simply say return fill. Okay, so by this way, I'm not going to use any sort of dot filter method. So we are doing it manually. And let's run the code. Okay, so all the test cases are passed, and now we can submit it. So yeah, this is the solution so far. And if you want to know more about Truthy and falsy value, so there we go. And here what we're doing is Truthy falsy check in JavaScript. So the very line of code that we are writing, if fn of array of I and I, so we want to check. So either the value will be a Truthy value or the value will be a falsy value. Okay, and why it works in JavaScript? So JavaScript convert the return value of fn into a Boolean value. Okay, so whatever value we are going to get out of this fn function will be a Boolean output, means Truthy or falsy, means true or false. So if I get 1, hi, empty object, empty array, then it will be true. If I'll get 0, null, undefined, nan, false, then it will turn to be a falsy. So fn returns anything falsy, the element will be skipped. And if it returns anything truthy, then it won't be skipped and it will be pushed to my fill array. Okay, so this is how we do, and that's all.